Good morning, fellow Hoops fans. Welcome back to the final episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our great friends over there at topsport.com.au. Now, like I said, it is the last show of the season. The NBA is done and dusted for a few more months. The Golden State Warriors are the 2022-23 NBA champions. We're going to break down Game 6. We're going to break down, some of that off-court stuff that happened. And we're going to take a way too early look at next season as well. And to do that, of course, we're going to bring back our esteemed guests and co-hosts on this show. We're going to start off. BK, my man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, my brother. A great final series, and we called it Dubs in 6.
Yeah, you and I called it. We got it spot on the money. Old mate Parky had the Dubs in 7, so it didn't quite work out. And it is a great time to welcome Andrew Parkinson onto the show as well. Parky, how are you, mate?
I'm very well, thanks, and I'm giving Steph all the flowers today, mate. I'm dedicating this show to. Night, as Steph said to all those Celtics fans.
Yeah, and the other one that I liked was where he was pointing to the
yeah, I like that one. Was he purposely pointing to his the fourth finger because it was his fourth one? I don't know, but he did I think Aaron Donald did that in the Super Bowl.
I love it. Yeah. I want to see more stuff like that. You know, when you could tell that he knew that championship was Golden State's. There was no way they were losing that game.
Yeah, no, that was it was a great performance from him. I think it all turned around in Game 4 when Steph had that 43-point game at TD Garden and really turned and flipped the series around. Because if they'd lost that one, it was looking like Celtics in 6. So yeah, I think obviously Steph has finally got that on his resume, the NBA Finals MVP. So well deserved. Not like he had to prove that, he wasn't any good in the finals. But I think that was poetic justice for the man.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Game 6 now. So the Warriors obviously clinched their 4th title in 8 seasons. Like you mentioned, Parky, Steph Curry named Finals MVP. They won the last 3 games of that series to clinch that title. Celtics couldn't come back from this one like they did in previous series. They were obviously down 3-2 with Milwaukee in that second round and then came back and won Game 6 and 7. Probably ran out of steam, I guess, in this final series. I just want to start off, BK, with you. What were some of your thoughts and reactions to this NBA final series?
I mean, the big storyline for me outside of Steph Curry obviously doing his thing was Draymond. We saw the highs and lows of Draymond Green. But when it really mattered in that Game 6, we've seen Draymond do this, whether it be Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals. Obviously, they didn't win that. But the game that really mattered was Game 6, and Draymond had one of his best games of the series. I think 12, 12, and 8. And he really was the emotional leader for them in the biggest moments. So for him to sort of have those valleys throughout this series and then come back and hit the nail on the head when it counted. That for me was one of my big takeaways was just the influence of Draymond throughout this series, whether good or bad.
You know what I loved about that, right? And again, that goes back to after Game 1 when he said, look, it's one game. He was pretty calm and measured after that. And that just speaks to sort of not only his level of confidence, but that sort of understanding and that experience of these guys have been there before, and we touched on this previously where we said that the Celtics didn't have that experience. They've been to some conference finals, but they'd never been to the big stage. So guys like Tatum and Brown, who actually I thought Brown was probably their best player throughout the series, they just didn't have that experience, whereas Draymond knew, he's not going to get too high, not going to get too low. He understood this is a long series. There's going to be ebbs and flows. And like you said, BK, he showed up when it mattered. He's got a tendency to do that. And he had his best game of the series. Parky, what did you think?
Yeah, no, that definitely was the case. And I think when you look at the way the entire sort of series went, the Celtics sort of couldn't really close games, and I think that's where they had their issues was closing out those games. Even you can look back. They did have a great record bouncing back, even with that loss in Game 6. They were 7-2 in bounce back games for the whole postseason, but they still just, as you said, they sort of just lacked that experience, in closing out games. And they got through the Bucks in 7, they got through the Heat in 7, but it was a different story taking on those Warriors. And I think that obviously that NBA Finals experience, carried through with obviously the three guys, Draymond and Clay and Steph, and obviously the coaching staff as well. So I think, that was definitely something that, worked in their favor. And they were rightly the winners. But the Celtics just not being able to close out games and just having some really poor quarters and some poor spots. I mean, even when you look at Game 7, they had a 10 or 12 point lead early, and the Warriors go on a 21-0 run, and we're actually up by 21 points at one stage. And the Celtics did well to get it back in that Game 6, but it just wasn't their thing to do. And they lost some very important home games too in the postseason. That I think when they look back on, if they hadn't dropped as many of those, they would have had far better success and maybe could have got that ring.
Another thing that cost the Celtics was turnovers. They had, can't remember the final number in that Game 6, but it was definitely
21.
21, there you go. And look, the Golden State Warriors, they're the kind of team where if you turn the ball over, all they need is like a 4-minute stretch where they've just really blown that game wide open, especially with a guy like Steph Curry. BK, that was just the case again, wasn't it? It was something that we spoke about throughout the playoffs, but especially in the finals, that whenever they turn the ball over more than 16 times per game, they generally don't win.
Yeah, look, those are the margins in the NBA Finals. They're very slim. It does come down to minute to minute, possession to possession. And as Parky alluded to, the execution from the Celtics, especially late in games, just wasn't there, through those last couple of games of this series. And, they kind of do have this tendency to fall into some pretty chaotic offense. And when your two best guys, Brown and Tatum, obviously have the ball in their hands a lot. And look, they were culpable for a lot of those turnovers. It just makes it hard when you're on the back foot. Your offense isn't really in any sort of a rhythm. And then on the other end, you get this tidal wave of guys, whether it's Curry or Clay or even Jordan Poole. He had his moments as well. It's just kind of, it makes life difficult when you're kind of doing that to yourself. You're constantly having to dig yourself out of a hole. It can work against a lot of teams, but the Golden State Warriors, they don't need many opportunities to make you pay. And as you said, the experience really kind of shone through in those last couple of games. You could just kind of tell the Warriors weren't rattled by anything, whereas the Celtics, you could see it was starting to get to them. They're playing catch up.
Speaking of Klay Thompson, we spoke on the last show that we did on Friday morning about Game 6 Klay, and we asked if Game 6 Klay was going to show up. He didn't quite show up. He had a decent game. I think he still struggled shooting the ball. He had a poor shooting performance once again, but it wasn't really needed because Steph Curry really stepped up. But Klay Thompson gets his 4th ring as well, nonetheless. Now, after the game during the media conference, it was probably the most entertaining one was from Klay Thompson. He never forgets things, right? So he was basking in the moment of the Warriors championship win. And as he was answering questions, he remembered a tweet from Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, Jaren Jackson and the Grizzlies had beaten the Warriors during the regular season, and he tweeted strength in numbers. So we've got the tweet up on the screen right here. This was from Jaren. There we see the date on there, March 29, 2022. And Klay Thompson, like I said, he never forgets. So he actually had something to say about this tweet from Jaren Jackson Jr. We're going to listen to that right now.
And strength in numbers is alive and well. I can't wait. There was this one player on the Grizzlies who tweeted strength in numbers after they beat us in the regular season, and it pissed me off so much. I can't wait to retweet that thing. Freaking bum. I had to watch that. I'm just like, this freaking clown. Okay. Sorry. That memory just popped up. You're going to mock us? Like, you ain't ever been there before, bro. We've been there. We know what it takes. So to be here again, hold that.
We'll do a last couple for Klay. Mark Spears, back right.
Twitter fingers. Can you believe it?
Cannot. Mark in the back right.
Klay, I got a memory like an elephant. I don't forget. And there was a lot of people kicking us when we were down.
Where did we eat breakfast when I interviewed you for the first time?
What's that? Oh, man, I forgot. But it was right by Broadway. I forgot the name, but I remember it was downtown Oakland. And I don't think you could guess I'll be here for a fourth time, Mark. You'd probably be like, heck no. What? To be here again? This is incredible. Okay.
Now, the best part for me about that is like Mark Spears is trying to ask a question and Clay's still like, nah, I can't believe it. I can't believe this guy actually tweeted that out. You could tell that he was pretty pressed about Jaren Jackson Jr.'s tweet. Fellas, what do we think about this? Is Clay being unnecessarily petty, or do we sort of enjoy this, that he just waited for the right moment to get his, like, they're champions there. You can't say anything about that.
Take your victory lap, son. You keep all the receipts. And the fact that he called him some player from the Grizzlies too is just added disrespect. Like, you have all this stuff that's been burning up inside of you all season. When you get up on that podium, that's the time to talk your ish. I'm with Clay. I rock with this.
Yeah, I agree with BK. The thing I got out of this was that he says about how he's got a memory like an elephant, but he can't even remember the guy's name. Well, I think he probably purposely left that one out. But yeah, he called him a freaking bum, and some player from the Grizzlies. So he didn't want to mention his name. But yeah, this Twitter stuff is just when basketball's in its prime in Australia in the 90s, and that's when we all got into the NBA, and there was none of this Twitter going around. I mean, just last week they brought out a tweet from Jason Tatum that was I think he tweeted when he was 14 years old that Jabari Parker was better than Andrew Wiggins.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, for that draft. So they're pulling out stuff. They're pulling out stuff from years ago. The kid, he was 14, and he just innocently tweets out, that he thought that Jabari Parker, who I think went number 2 that year, behind Wiggins. So they, of course, the press, dug it out, just in time for this NBA Finals. But you got to love Clay and his work that he did there. I'm sure he's probably retweeted it already, and they're having a bit of fun with it.
You know what I love? Like, this just goes back to something that I've been saying, like these regular season games, like, yeah, all right, you win a game, I get it. You want to enjoy the moment and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, like these regular season wins in like early March or late March, they don't mean anything, in the grand scheme of things. Like bigger picture, obviously the Warriors, they lost that game, but they go on to win the title. They win the games when it matters. So look, Clay got the last laugh in the end, and he was waiting a few weeks to get that last laugh.
Hey, and it set the table for next season, because Ja Morant and Draymond, they've been going back and forth on Twitter. Like, they're already calling out a Christmas Day game in San Francisco. Like, there's no shortage of the soap opera. I love it.
No, there isn't. And look, that is a nice little budding rivalry over there in the Western Conference. Obviously, the Golden State Warriors are top of the mountain, king of the mountain, and the Grizzlies are that young sort of upstart team trying to get there, which kind of brings me on to my next question that I want to talk to you guys a little bit. Obviously, we've spoken about the Warriors winning 4 titles in 8 seasons. Will we see a drop-off? When will we see a drop-off from this Golden State Warriors dynasty? Because if we look at that roster, Curry is 34 years old. Draymond and Klay Thompson are both 32. Iguodala's 38, so he's likely not even going to be on the roster next season, because I believe he's an unrestricted free agent. Contract-wise, Curry's got another 4 years. Thompson's got another 2 years. And Draymond's got a player option at the end of 2023-24, and he's going to be earning $53 million over the next 2 years as well. So obviously these guys are getting on a little bit in age. Guys, I want to ask you guys, is the Warriors dying? Is this what the last of the championships that the Warriors are going to win?
Well, I still think they've got a window of at least a few years. If they can hold on to Poole, I think that's going to be critical. And Wiggins, I think, I'm not sure of his contract situation, but as far as Iggy goes at 38, I think he'll be in a suit for the Warriors in not too distant future. I think they'll have him on their coaching staff. But yeah, Steph at 34 and Dre and Clay at 32. I think they're still. I mean, the way Steph looks after his body now, and I mean, he's just improved his conditioning and in the weight room and stuff. I think his longevity is going to be pretty good. And you've got LeBron out there setting the pace for everyone at the grand old age of 37. So I think, I still think that I still think that there's a window there for the Warriors for sure. I don't know what you think, BK.
Oh, I 100% agree. And for one reason, Jonathan Kuminga. I think this guy has star potential. He only really kind of just scratched the surface, gave us some flashes during this season. But I really think he's the kind of guy that can just be a plug and play into this system. His work rate, just getting up and down the floor. And then a guy like Moses Moody as well. We saw what that incubation in Golden State did for Jordan Poole. I mean, there's no reason why that can't happen with Moses Moody as well. And
Wiseman as well.
Exactly. This guy, we have not seen this guy play. Like, realistically, we've seen him play like 30 games. If he can come back and be anywhere near the player we maybe expected when he first got drafted, like, this is a guy with, again, superstar potential. A lot of things have to break right for them, but in terms of the talent that they have already on their roster in that second generation, it's going to be tough because, the Warriors are going to pay. They're going to pay their guys, and they're committed to this kind of two-generation thing that Joe Lacob was very high on. So, in terms of longevity, Steph's going to be around. I mean, if Clay in his later years is just a spot-up shooter, that's maybe the best spot-up shooter. If he's like a Shane Battier type, like they can keep doing this for a minute.
Yeah, that's actually the point I was going to bring up too, BK, this whole two-generation type thing, because the guys that they're sort of, trying to bring along and develop that we've mentioned, the Jordan Poole and Kuminga and Wiseman and Moses Moody, they're not required to play heavy minutes, so they can bring them along at a certain pace. As long as, Curry and Clay and all that, they're going to be obviously starting, they get the heavier minutes and all that sort of stuff. So you can kind of blend that, experience with that up-and-coming youth. And they've actually got a really, really good mix of those two at the moment. And obviously, Andrew Wiggins being in his prime and having his best season ever doesn't hurt either. So, look, I think they'll be thereabouts, right, for the next couple of years. I saw an article, and I can't remember which website I saw it on to credit them right now, but I saw an article that had the projected retirement ages of the Warriors stars, and they projected Steph to be able to go for another 5 seasons. They've projected his retirement at 39. They projected Clay's retirement at 36, and I think Draymond was at about 35, 36 years old as well. So they've projected them to be around for a few more seasons, especially Steph. And look, like you said, as long as those guys are around, as long as you can blood the younger guys and bring them up slowly and then sort of have the younger guys peak coincide with the other guys decline, then I think the Warriors are in great shape moving forward.
Yeah, they've got a great base, and Bob Myers he's a masterclass as far as the moves he's made. Even since their last championship, he made some pretty tough moves. That Steve Kerr has publicly come out and said that he doesn't think that he believes that coaches shouldn't have anything to do with personnel decisions, because he said he wouldn't have got rid of Iggy after that after Clay, after they lost the championship to the Raptors that year, and of course he made moves, and Bob Myers sort of ended up with Kuminga and Wiggins out of sort of that with Durant leaving. So not many NBA teams could bounce back from losing someone like Kevin Durant and within a couple of years sort of be back on the big stage and and winning another NBA championship. So I think we've got to look at and the other thing about the Warriors too, they don't mind paying a bit of luxury tax. They've got so much money there that I think they're the leading team in the NBA as far as expense goes. So spending and of those sorts. So yeah, I think Bob Myers, he's got a lot to be credited for this, and I think he'll be busy, working on that roster and making the right moves.
Well, given the fact that they've won the championship and they're going to be contending, as we think, for the next couple of years at least, they won't have any high draft lottery picks, so they're going to have to rely on blooding the youth and developing these guys, and then obviously maybe some shrewd free agent signings or something like that, won't they, BK?
Hey, maybe Ken Bazemore will run that back. My man was sick watching the title after turning down the Warriors. But yeah, in terms of veteran guys, like Otto Porter, Bielitsa, like they came in and did their job this season. There'll be other guys like that out there on the free agent market that can contribute, because I mean, in terms of a fun style of play, a great place to live, and almost guaranteed success, It's hard to turn down the Warriors.
It absolutely is hard to turn down the Warriors. All right, you know what we're going to do now, guys? We're going to take a way too early look at some of next season's odds, and we're going to give some way too early predictions that we can obviously run back next season and see how correct we were. So let's take a look at the odds for the 2022-23. I got confused there. NBA championship, and the Warriors are favored. They're $6. Celtics $7. Brooklyn Nets $7. Clippers $8. Actually, I don't mind that one there because I think the Clippers, once they're healthy, we saw what they did this year, and with the amount of injuries that they had, but once they're fully healthy, I think they could be dangerous. Milwaukee Bucks $8. The Suns $10. Nuggets $15. Miami Heat $15. And then we go down the list there. We've got 76ers also 15, Mavericks 17, Jazz 41, Raptors 56, Timberwolves 58, and I think below that, I don't think anyone below that's actually going to win the NBA championship. Guys, what are your thoughts on these odds right there?
Well, did we get to two? Oh, sorry, I was going to say, did we get through two slides of odds and the Lakers were nowhere to be found?
Rightly so.
Yeah, so they're down at $21, which BK that's this time last year they were, I think, equal favourites with the Nets. With that roster that they had. So people, the punters, I guess, have they've softened on the Lakers, but the Nets, surprisingly, I guess, are still up there at $7. So people expecting them to do some things. But the thing that stood out for me was Miami Heat at $15. I mean, not getting much respect from the punters at all there, all the sports books. They were one shot. They were a Jimmy Butler pull-up three from playing in the NBA Finals. And there's some people say that they could have matched up okay with the Warriors. I still think the Warriors probably would have got it done. But the Heat at $15, I think, the way that organization has run, they've finished top of the East, which was considered a pretty good, it wasn't the East of old days. It was a very competitive conference. So that one surprised me. Is there anything else there that surprises you, BK?
Get the Clippers out of here at $8. How many caveats we got to put on this team if they're healthy? I need to see it before I believe in the LA Clippers at the third favorite to win the title.
BK's going with the show and prove theory on that one there. Listen, I heard a rumor today that they're looking at signing Carmelo. Not that it makes them, a championship contender based off that, but I saw a rumor they're looking at signing Carmelo Anthony actually for next season.
I take it all back. I'm all in on the Clippers.
he's going to be the difference, is he?
I'm all order a Clipper jersey immediately.
Yeah. I still want to see Carmelo come home. Like, don't worry about chasing a ring now. Just come home where you belong, back to the New York Knicks. But
put that 7 in the rafters. Let's go.
Put the number 7 in the rafters. But look, as far as all these, like I said, if we're going to make a way too early prediction right now, one thing I am going to say is the Warriors aren't running it back. They're not going to go back-to-back next season. I think the NBA champion is going to come from... I want to go back. Look, way too early prediction. I'm going to go back to the East, and I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks. But obviously, I do need to see how teams' summer is spent and what free agents and trades they're able to make to bolster their roster, but I like the Milwaukee Bucks when fully healthy.
Well, that's funny you said that. That's who I was going to have for my early prediction, because we all know that they lost to the Celtics in 7 in the Eastern Conference semifinals, but Middleton was a factor there, and I think I think they can definitely come back and finish in the top 2 of that Eastern Conference. So for me, my early prediction, if we can only pick one, would be the Bucks. I think at $8, that's pretty good value.
And I'll give you their opponent. They'll beat the Dallas Mavericks in the finals.
Ooh, there you go. $17. BK's got the $17 Mavericks to make the final.
Year 5 Luka. Let's see what their summer pans out. But they showed us something this season.
Look, I'm just glad that you didn't pick the Lakers for anything. You're finally off that island, BK.
Hey, I'm still on Westbrook and Carmelo Island. There's no removing me. I've come to my senses.
No love for your Philadelphia 76ers? You don't think that they're going to be right up there next season?
I think they'll be up there, but it's really just who knows with the Sixers. I see them reported in 100 trades every week, so I'm not sure what that roster is going to look like. And then obviously the James Harden extension. There's a lot of moving parts in Philadelphia, but I think they'll be there amongst the top sort of 2-3 teams in the East. But I don't know if they're gonna be better than the Bucks or the Heat.
I for one want to see that as the official 76ers hashtag. It's really who knows with us.
Yeah.
That's facts.
I love it. You could apply that to the 76ers, the Knicks. You could apply that to a few teams.
A lot of teams.
Yeah. Look, it's going to be interesting to see how the summer plays out. And like I said, which teams, bolster their squad with what free agent signings and trades and all that sort of stuff. So it's definitely one to keep an eye on. Like I said, this is our last show, but before we go, I just want to say that we will be announcing the winner in that competition that we were running with Ankle Breakers Collective. So definitely that was for the signed Tatum and Steph Curry jerseys. So keep an eye on Little Birdie TV socials and obviously on the Little Birdie TV pods across our platforms there. And we're going to be announcing the winner very shortly in that one.
Shout out to Dave Coleman and Michael Zorko for the work they do there too. And thanks again for the signed Larry Bird jersey. I'm still over the moon over that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, hopefully I'm going to win that Curry jersey, but I've got a feeling that that I won't be.
I'll give you a T-shirt if you don't. How about that?
Thanks, Parky. Thanks, Parky.
I'll give you a t-shirt.
Look, and I just want to say one more thing before we sign off. It's obviously been a long season, and a show like this doesn't get made without a great team around us. So I want to give a shout out to Scoot, MG, our producer Borko. These guys have been absolutely fantastic all season, giving us the support and resources that we need to get this show done. I want to thank BK, my man, for jumping on this show and talking recklessly with me, every single week. And obviously, Parky, you came on late in the season, but you've been a valuable contributor to the show. So I want to thank you guys.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And yeah, thanks for including me in this. It was great to come in, for the playoffs and for the a great time for the end of the year. But no, you guys did some great work for the whole season. So thanks for getting me in on the team.
Likewise, appreciate you both. It's been a fun season talking hoop and talking smack.
Yeah, and look, and also got to thank our sponsor, topsport.com.au, because without those guys, this show also doesn't get made. And look, we've got some big things planned for next season. Hopefully, we're going to take this show on to bigger and better things and more reckless talk from all of us week in and week out. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us this season. Hopefully, you've enjoyed the show. We're going to be back, like I said, next season with bigger and better things. Once again, signing off for the Last Shot NBA show here for the final time this season. We're going to catch you guys next season.